3 decades on from the bitter battles of the miners' strike, there are new questions about money and the miners' leader, Arthur Scargill.
You should vote for me, because Margaret Thatcher and the Tories hate me and want to see me defeated.
Shortly after the strike, he helped set up the International Energy and Miners Organisation. Today, he's still its president. The National Union of Mine Workers, representing British miners, has paid it £20,000 a year in subscriptions. But the man who now leads Arthur's old union stopped the payments in 2010.
The trouble happened when I was asked to justify paying that amount of money. And I asked for a sight of accounts from the IMO and refused to be given them.
The IMO spent more than £100,000 recovering a loan of £29,500 given to Roger Windsor, the NUM former chief executive. The case dragged on, but it only recently became clear it was the British miners paying the bill. Questions too about a one-off payment of £145,000 paid to the IMO shortly before Mr Scargill retired in 2002. The union's National Executive Committee was never consulted. Mr Scargill said this was the equivalent of what he could have expected as a severance payment, but one MP who was himself a miner thinks an investigation is needed.
What we should be doing now is having proper investigation about what happened. But it's extraordinary that you could pay money into an organisation and you know what for. I mean, it's ridiculous, really.
The union is now preparing to sue Arthur Scargill and Alain Simon, the General Secretary of the IMO. It's based here in Paris, but we know little else about the IMO. No accounts have been published since 1993, so we went to see what we could find out at its registered office.
Well, that was interesting. I was taken up to the 6th floor to the offices of the IEMO, and I met Mr Simon's secretary, who it turns out is actually his wife. Now, she said, apart from the pair of them, there's only one other person works for the organisation writing its journal. I said, are there any other officers, any other staff? And she said, no, we've got no money. She wouldn't answer any more questions. She said we had to put any further points to Arthur Scargill. Answering questions in a statement to us, Mr Scargill said the NUM had breached its own conference decision when it stopped payments to the IMO. He now says the £145,000 payment was not in lieu of severance, but was a grant, and because it was made by an area trust of the NUM, it didn't need to be reported to the National Executive Committee.
He told us the IMO has donated the £29,500 it got back from Roger Windsor to the union and says if costs are recovered, it will pay back more to the NUM. He may have made his name taking on the establishment, but now Arthur Scargill increasingly faces questions from those he used to lead. Dan Johnson, BBC News.